Go.
Do you really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, motherfucker. What do you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Quan from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it. Hits it.
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
The big question is, are you ready? The other question, I guess, would be, are you excited? I don't know necessarily if it is even. I know you guys are ready. And I know you guys are ready for a party because over the years, I've taught you well. And I've said before that it certainly matters what happens in that building right across from where I'm sitting right now with BullseyeEventGroup.com and the Colts VIP tailgate. It matters. Results do matter. But when it's all said and done, your memory is going to be made by simply being a part of this. And a shout out to everybody that won in the past couple of weeks leading up to this Monday nighter, because the BullseyeEventGroup.com Colts VIP tailgate presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration is going to open up a little bit later on, and you are going to have a blast. And then hopefully some good fortune, as I've talked about a little bit earlier, and some positivity and some results shine upon Lucas Oil Stadium, but you're going to party and have a hell of a time. And let me give a shout-out to Kyle Kinnett, who always puts this together. Indoor and outdoor normally. It is indoor and indoor now because the back, I don't know if you want to, the back green, if you will, is now covered and heated. Incredible party with DJ Skids and Laura Steele and Kelsey Murphy, the celebrity chef. This is going to be a blast. If you don't have your passes, just make sure you're a part of it with BullseyeEventGroup.com and the Colts VIP tailgate, because this is going to be it. And again, I know that the results matter to you. This is kind of a last gasp. I've read everything about how nobody in the past month plus that nobody's helped out the Colts. I would also tell you that the Colts haven't helped out the Colts. So really, what are you going to do? I mean, hell, if you can't win and you can't play well, I mean, you really can't make any excuses about how other teams are winning and your ass isn't. And I know that they're at their emergency quarterback, and he's 44, and he was out of the league for 5 years, but you know, these are the things that you get into when you decide to take these NFL gigs. There are just simply put a lot of have-tos. And around here, there have been a lot of less have-tos over the past seasons. The handful of seasons going back any further. So I'm not really interested here in hearing too many excuses. I know you can easily make them, but I think they've been made in the past. So the problem, I think, to me, that I had with this, even before the injuries and especially before the quarterback was compromised, is you could see this coming. You could see this coming with a healthy Daniel Jones. And you go all the way back, I think it was week 9 with Pittsburgh. That's when we officially saw it coming. That's when they were exposed. And I know everybody wants to talk about, and that's fine, because I'm sure that had a great deal to do with it, that kickstart, that ramping up of the schedule to get off to a great start. And, you know, again, everybody gets all excited, and you should, because it's been a rarity around here over decades, it seems, that this team gets off to a good start. I mean, hell, wins its first game. So you did see this coming even back when you had a much healthier team. So, you know, I was talking about this on Friday. Joel A. Erickson and I were kind of discussing this. And, you know, while you understand this is the third string quarterback, or in this case, the emergency quarterback with Phillip Rivers, you know, this is kind of, or at least it should be. It hasn't been in the past because the excuses have been there. But this is still no excuse not to go out in front of your home crowd and having this game in your building for the first time since 2022, and then looking back even further and how futile things have been trying to win on Monday night here recently when they played in these games for the Colts. Maybe it's time for you as a team to try to direct yourself to some sort of final stand. I know everything looks against you. To quote Phil Collins, I know you're against all odds. But maybe it's time to show that you do have a little bit of solid metal going on here. The defense showed it. I mean, really, team-wise, I thought that they showed it most of the time in Seattle, but you have to have a complete performance. I mean, you can't let the tail end of things malfunction everything that you put yourself, at least in terms of the Seahawks last week, you put yourself in an opportunity to win. So that's where we are today, and it looks like an incredible long shot. Because not only do you have to win tonight, then you're going to have to win the next 2 weeks, with division rivals home and away. And you've got division rivals right now that are humming. You watched Jacksonville and their act yesterday in Denver. When's the last time you saw, and I know Jacksonville has been disguised before as a good team, and they have been willing to fool you in the past. But a new kind of a-holic head coach in Liam Cohen has seemingly fired that franchise up, and especially its quarterback that has always been the guy that you thought was going to be a lot better. The can't-miss guy out of Clemson was constantly missing, and now it looks like that he is hitting on all cylinders. And then you have Houston that isn't playing incredibly well. And everybody that the Colts need to lose, they come out winning. Everybody that needs to play badly for the Colts, they are winning. The only team that is following suit in circumstances that would give a little bit of help would be the Colts. They're helping themselves right out of the postseason. Yeah, injuries, quarterback situations are not. Helping themselves right out of the season. So we'll see what they have. And I would like to think the last thing that you want is to get de-pantsed on Monday Night Football coming up later on tonight. So we'll see what this team, we'll see what this group has in them. Even if you look at the playoff situation and it seems like a foregone conclusion that all is lost. Charles Arbuckle, the Colts Radio Network, the former Colts tight end, is going to join us. James, you can tell me whenever Charles is ready to go. We'll talk with him coming up here. We kind of have an abbreviated set, and I'll explain to you everything that entails this show in a second. Stephen Holder, his normal Monday visit happens at 3:30. Chris Hagan of Fox 59. And the voice of the Colts, Matt Taylor, is going to join us coming up a little bit later on. And again, BullseyeEventGroup.com and the Colts VIP Tailgate presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration. You can log on BullseyeEventGroup.com and get your passes right now. I'll bail out of here at some point in the 4 o'clock hour because I have Touchdown Town Colts pregame huddle responsibilities. We'll make the transition from here to there. And then note this, because you got the Pacers in Boston later on tonight. We're going to start on these two stations, 93.5 and 107.5, the Fan of the Colts pregame huddle, and Country 97.1 Hank FM. They're not going to play Charlie Daniels for a while later on tonight and allow us to bring you a little pregame for the Monday Nighter and then the end game. So we'll go exclusively on Country 97.1 Hank FM coming up a little bit later on tonight. But I'll explain all that to you in full detail coming up. BullseyeEventGroup.com and the Colts VIP Tailgate. You have time to get your passes. If I were you, if you like to party, this is it right here, BullseyeEventGroup.com. Meantime, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline from the Colts Radio Network, I told you all about him a little bit earlier. The former Colts tight end is joining us, Charles Arbuckle. Hello, Charles. How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
It's funny. If you had any sort of last stand, if you're the Colts, later on tonight would assumingly be it, would it not?
Yeah, you don't want to end up like Custer, right? You want to make sure that you come out fighting, and you make sure you win this thing the best you can, because there is going to be a lot of things that are happening here. Good opportunities for the Colts, but they've just put themselves in a position now having not won since Berlin, where it's all these games are must win now.
Yeah, well, and I look back, I think, hell, I called most of them must win, and it would have been nice if they cashed in on those must-win situations. You were out there last week. The effects of Phillip Rivers, both in the positive and the negative. His hiatus was 5 years. He came back and got to start last week. We saw how that ultimately ended, but there was good. But there is bad that, unfortunately, I don't think that there is a solution on the limitations of the 44-year-old down the field and his arm. But what did you see, and how do you think the Niners prep for that defensively coming up later on tonight?
Well, you have a chance. And the Niners, I'll just say this, with all their injuries on the defensive side, they haven't sacked the quarterback well, so that bodes well for Phillip Rivers when you don't have a Bosa who was hurt early in the year, Fred Warner. You know, they have got another couple of guys up front that just aren't playing. So when you have that puts you in a good position because that's the one thing. He'll get the ball out quick, and he'll make sure he puts the players in the right position. And the thing, JMV, that just, fascinates me, even when I look at young quarterbacks and the things that they can't do, they don't throw the ball easily to the flat or those arrow routes when where the running back starts out, comes back in, and you just hit them. Real simple things. That's what Rivers can do. Now, what he showed last week that he can't do on anything that was 10-plus yards, air yards, he was 2 of 8 for 33 yards. And that last-second interception, I don't count that. The only deep throw that he really had was the one to Alec Pierce on the deep back shoulder, which was great, and then the one to Tyler Warren where it picked up about, 15 yards. But other than those, you could see that he just didn't have the drive on the ball. Now, the wind wasn't terrible last week, and it wasn't wet. This week you're indoors, so you figure it'd be a little bit better. But he was 16 of 18 for 87 yards on throws under 10 yards. So to me, he's got to improve that 2 for 8 for air yards over 10 because you've got to be able to hit big routes, and you've also got to hit some deep outs against a team like the 49ers who haven't particularly played the run real well. And I think that's what they're going to be stopped up to do because they know that if Phillip Rivers is going to get going, Jonathan Taylor has to get going. And I think those are the things that I look at from that standpoint because the other thing with the 49ers, since Purdy has come back, they've been pretty explosive on offense. But here's what Jonathan Taylor has done rushing the ball, and this is where it's a concern for me and a red flag for the Colts. 58 yards, 3.6 against Kansas City, 85 against the Texans, 4 yards per carry, 74 against Jacksonville, 3.5, and then the Seattle Seahawks, 87, 3.5. They have to get back to where Jonathan Taylor can run the football effectively, and then that sets up the play-action pass for Phillip Rivers, which he wants to do, and not have to feel like you're in 3rd and long, but you're in 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, and it's a much easier down to pick up.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned it feels like that you're with Phillip Rivers and you feel comfortable in first gear, but you can't get to third gear. Thus, I think that's incredibly difficult to try to kickstart Jonathan Taylor because you are relying a great deal on an offensive line to move a lot of bodies out of the way because they're simply put zero threat 10, 15 yards down the field over your head. So, I mean, I know that this was a running game that was already fading, but that certainly compounds a difficult situation later on tonight. And now you have the Niners, even with these losses on defense, Charles, you have the Niners that have, after 5 years, tape of the now after last week on Rivers, and that can send things a little bit more haywire as well.
Yeah, it can. And I think this is where the other factor comes in. I think the defense played about as well as I saw them during that stretch when they've lost, and they gave themselves a chance, right? So your defense is going to have to play well again, but you're going to have to create some turnovers from the defensive side. That's when this Colts team was playing well and when they've been their best is when their team has been able to turn the ball over. They didn't get that last week, and you think about it, even in the games they lost, which was only one that was a blowout on this streak, against the Jaguars, they have been able to get people to turn the ball over. So I think that's the recipe to me. It's also, we can look at Phillip Rivers. I think he's the important critical factor. But if you're not going to get the things that you need in a deep passing game, you got to get it in other hidden parts, i.e. your defense stopping them, but also forcing them to turn the ball over and then turning those turnovers into points. And then your special teams. How can you make the field look better for you? And your drive start is much better for a guy that can't drive the ball 30 yards down the field, but still is effective in getting you in the right position. I think those are the key factors that I look at tonight on Monday night.
So Charles Arbuckle joins us at the Colts Radio Network, the former Colts tight end. We're staked out at bullseyeeventgroup.com at the Colts VIP tailgate. Presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration. Doors open a little bit later on today for the premier pregame party anywhere. I'm going to say indoor and indoor here because this place is looking fantastic, and it is warm. All you can eat, all you can drink on the inside. And Charles is on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So the bit of good news is that you hear, and there's no Sauce Gardner, you know about Mooney Ward, but DeForest Buckner is back. I would ask you, it is a big deal, don't get me wrong, but how, I mean, is he going to be, or would you expect him to be his normal Buckner type of self after this long injured layoff?
JMV, I want 20 plays out of Buck and still think he's going to give me his best 20 because his motor, you know, even at his age, he's still got the high motor. And some of the younger guys are playing better, but I think you need that 20, 25 snaps. He's probably going to be on the pitch count if he's got anything to do with the neck or shoulder. And usually you have that. But if he's feeling well and he can get 25, 30 plays, I will take that from DeForest Buckner every day because think about on the other side, the Christian McCaffrey. These are two guys with over 1,700 scrimmage yards. Both of them are effective. McCaffrey does it in the air. He does it on the ground. You got to make sure Brock Purdy becomes one-dimensional where he's only throwing the ball, and the Colts have been really good at pressuring quarterbacks, and DeForest Buckner is a key person to that. And since he's been out, teams have been able to run better, but they also the quarterback's been able to step up there where you don't have big 99 and 90. He and Grover just do such a really good job at playing off of each other. I think his 25 to 30 plays are imperative against the run game and the pass game. And I think that's where the Colts have to hang their hat because, like I said, those two linebackers last week, I saw Cato June in the next booth over, and I was telling them, like, I'm clapping during the game because you got, Franklin all over the field. You have Pratt all over the field making plays. And I think the linebackers only get better when you bring back a guy like DeForest Buckner because he takes that double team, he swallows it up, and he does all the things. And he's going to have some extra incentive. This is his former team. And it wasn't that they didn't end well or he doesn't dislike them. But whenever you play your former team, you want to show them, like, look what you're missing here. Look what you're missing here, dog. I got you. So I expect him to have a big game if it's only 15 plays. But whatever it is, it's much more valuable than having him on the sideline where you need him on the field.
Hey, Charles, before I let you go, you'd mentioned the shortcomings recently of Jonathan Taylor, and the rookie tight end from Penn State, Tyler Warren, also has suffered from similar consequences here. As a former tight end as you are, it would seem like if somebody could really help the cause out, it would be Warren. How do you get him with this offense back involved? Because simply put, he's disappeared over the past month.
Yeah, I think the two things that they're going to do that I look at the Colts looking for him is in situations where they get in man short crossing routes where he can cross and Josh Downs can come across and they almost pick each other's guy, but he becomes a valuable weapon on the other side of that cross. If they're playing a lot of zone, find ways to just get him 10 yards, hook around, big body, and you hit him with some things. I know they were trying to do that last week. The Seahawks defense is much better in the back end and really all the way around right now because then this 49ers team, and I would think if the 49ers are going to play zone, that's where you utilize big Tyler Warren in different positions and you get him moving so they can't have a linebacker or a DN disrupt him from his route. I think those are the critical things tonight, and I think we'll see that with Rivers because those two really, think about it. He came in 3 days last week and was able to play. So now he's got a full week under his belt, and he's understanding where to put the ball for the guys as well.
So Charles Arbuckle with us. The McCaffrey game, there is no doubt, is strong. They'll have to deal with that. And deal with, it's funny, everybody's going to be motivated because of the positioning right now, but you look in the NFC playoff picture and what stands in front of and how you can dictate the terms. If you're the Niners, you're going to be facing a team that is overwhelmingly focused on getting a road win on Monday night.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And I think you talk about the tight end for the Colts. You better be careful with George Kittle because Kittle can play. And that's the one thing with these linebackers and safety, Nick Cross or whoever's going to guard them, maybe sometimes Kenny Moore. You better make sure you're ready for it because he's an all-day affair, and he's still playing at a high level now that he's back healthy.
It's weird. This was supposed to be kind of like a rebuilding season in Frisco, and it really hasn't turned out that way. Even with injuries, they battled through that. That's impressive as hell.
I'll say this. Robert Saleh didn't get his just due with the Jets, and I think he's one of the better defensive coaches in the league. And I agree with you. They've done a nice job of just battling through that. And that's where the Colts can look across the way and say, okay, if we can get this one, we can get on a little streak. You're going to have to. But you're playing three of the hottest teams right now in the next 3 weeks. So how do you just get one, right? How do you get one and just say, okay, let's chop here from the next one and get on to Jacksonville and then Houston? Because if you win this game, you then have to win the other two because those guys have been playing so well, but you can be the one to knock them off. And so get this one tonight, and that gives you a chance to even at least be in the dance at the end of the season.
Hey, it's Charles Arbuckle right there, kind enough to join us before this Monday nighter on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Former Colts tight end, thank you very much, Charles. I appreciate it. Enjoy the game, and we'll catch up with you coming up in the last couple of games and see where we are here.
All right, man. Y'all have a good one. Take care.
Charles Arbuckle, Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. As of right now in the NFC, the Seahawks, Bears with that thriller on Saturday night. The Eagles, Rams, and these Niners have all clinched spots. Now there's going to be some adjustments here and who can win and positioning in the NFC. But certainly there's been a lot more sorted out in the NFC than there has been in the AFC, where two teams, the Broncos and the Patriots, are in the postseason. But a lot of other squads, including – once again, you look at it, and both the Jaguars and the Texans are in prime position. And it's unfortunate, considering the start this Colts team got off to find themselves in yet a very familiar situation, right? Coming up later on tonight on Monday Night Football. I'm in a familiar situation, too, because you know me, I dig the party. And this is it, bullseyeeventgroup.com and the Colts VIP tailgate. Skids is going to be right over there. You can't see me because I don't have video right now. And the AAA membership lounge via YouTube Live. James, what are they seeing? A blank screen, or are they seeing my body? AAA membership lounge-wise. What do they see right now? Do you know?
They are just seeing a blank screen. There is no Zoom today.
No Zoom today. Bummer. Some dude said, I didn't know if it was a picture of me. Some dude said I looked like the Scarecrow and Wizard of Oz because I've lost so much weight. And I thought, I thought he was a little flexible. I do need to be more flexible, come to think of it. But I didn't know if my Scarecrow photograph was up there. So, no Zoom today because we're at the bullseyeeventgroup.com, Colts VIP tailgate. We'll transition up to Touchdown Town. Coming up a little bit later on for the Colts pregame huddle. We've got some calls if you want to work them in. We do have some time for that. But on the other side, Stephen Holder is going to join us from ESPN. Hagan's going to be here. Matt Taylor's also on the way. Don't go anywhere. But if you want a pregame party, this is it. All you can eat, all you can drink. BullseyeEventGroup.com and the Colts VIP tailgate presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration. Log on and make this one hell of a memorable Monday night, no matter what happens inside of Lucas Oil Stadium. Back with you coming up on the other side. Don't go anywhere. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Hey, John for Bullseye, eventgroup.com and the Colts VIP tailgate. That's where I am right now. Oh, all you can eat, all you can drink. Skids, Laura Steele. Kelsey Murphy, the celebrity chef, is here. The pregame party extraordinaire. Bullseyeeventgroup.com. Hey, go ahead and log on. Make sure you're a part of this event. Indoor and outdoor normally. It's indoor and indoor now. They got heaters, and it's covered up outside. This is it right here. For a Monday night, you're going to party. No matter what happens across the street, you're going to know that you've had a blast with BullseyeEventGroup.com and the Colts VIP tailgate. Log on right now, be a part of it, and tell them I sent you. BullseyeEventGroup.com. Hey, it's John for Lance and his local team at LD Smith Plumbing and Drains at 317-927-7186. Let's add on drains here because the last thing you want this time of year is any drain cloggage in or around your home. So make sure your drains are clear with LD Smith Plumbing today. 317-927-7186. Simply the best in plumbing. Lance and his local team at LD Smith Plumbing and Drains, 317-927-7186 online, ldsmithplumbing.com today.
The Ride with JMV.
Excuse me, sir. There's been a little problem in the cockpit.
The cockpit? What is it?
It's the little room in the front of the plane where the pilots sit. But that's not important right now.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
I should mention Butler basketball's got an afternoon affair. And, James, can we look this up? Are they playing against the media teams that play or used to play pickup inside Hinkle Fieldhouse on Tuesdays back in the day? Butler right now 77-31 over New Jersey Institute of Technology, the Highlanders, who evidently they're really good in the classroom, but they can't play hoops a lick. Man, 77-31 with under 9 to go. right now in the second half of play. I believe that's on, if James can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that's on Fuego as well going on right now. Pacers later on tonight, tip time 7:30, 7 o'clock. Your coverage begins on the Fan. That's when we'll make the transition exclusively to Country, or will be at Country 97.1 Hank FM anyway. But the Fan will have your Pacers hoops in Boston tonight and Country 97.1 Hank FM. All of your Monday Night Football, Niners and Colts play-by-play action with Matt and Rick and Lara and Casey and all of us inside Lucas Oil Stadium. Meantime, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, I believe he's ready. His normal ESPN.com Monday visit a little bit earlier because of this game tonight. The Monday night matchup with the Niners and the Colts, and Stephen Holder is joining us. Hello, Stephen. How are you? Evidently, Stephen is not there. So let me know if Stephen does get there. And we'll go ahead and re-rack him whenever he can go. So keep that in mind. I also should bring up, too, when we get Stephen back on here, as we just talked to Charles Arbuckle a little bit earlier, when we get Stephen back on here, we're also going to have Chris Hagan and Matt Taylor join the show a little bit later on. Kind of an interesting transition we're going to make. So this is kind of like what I normally do on Sunday mornings. We call it the Ride to Kickoff. I start at 9 a.m., and we end up going to – do you have Stephen right now, James? Is Stephen there? I do not hear him, James. So if Stephen, if you're there, count to 12. No, I'm just joking. Hey, Stephen Holder of ESPN.com is going to join us. I was going to go into my life story before you finally popped up here on the phone. I appreciate it, and so does the listener. All 5 of them appreciate the fact that you saved the day right here.
I'm here to serve.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you too. Like, I've given my thoughts on where I begin with this matchup and all that's going on later on tonight against the Niners. Where do you start with this Colts team right now?
It's so difficult because I think the human nature in everybody right now is to be very dissatisfied, right? And I'm not going to try to talk people out of that because I understand it. It's the way things, and from where they were to where they are now, it's not great, and it doesn't reflect well on anybody. So that's an undeniable fact, right? But there is a lot of context, and I find myself getting sort of caught up in, swaying back and forth, to be completely honest with you, right? If you told me if this was debate class, and you told me to make an argument for firing everybody and nuking this thing, I could do that. Yeah. Or if you told me to make the argument for why they should run this back and try again and see if they can get healthy, I could make a great argument for that too. So, and I think that is where we get back to Carly Ursay-Gordon has, in her first year of full ownership, is going to have a huge decision to make, probably one of the biggest they've had in a long, long time, and she's going to have it right out of the gate, even though the daughters were obviously involved in all the big decisions and conversations in the past. That is true. But now the buck stops with them, and this is a big one. So I know that doesn't answer the question, but I just don't think there's a great answer. I really don't. I really don't think either is a silver bullet. Because you bring somebody else in new, even if you may want a head on a platter, but I don't know that those individuals are going to have a fix either. So I don't know. It's a tough one, and I hate. Sorry for rambling, but that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Well, and here's where I am with it too. You're soaking in a situation that you're going to be soaking in for the next couple of years because of your lack of assets and what you gave up for Sauce Gardner. I guess my point is there have been excuses in the past, and you could have excuses this year, but there have been so many years in the past that, if you're going to do something, it kind of seems like, I will say this, it almost seems like this year and the excuses you could pass along would really fall on deaf ears to a lot of folks, if that makes sense, because we've been down a similar path where there have been made excuses and people digested it. So it's almost like, all right, well, is it now the final time, even with your team being compromised? It's been a long time, and maybe you just need to wash it out and be fresh all over again, even, if you really can't with this roster for the foreseeable future. I mean, it is an ultimately ridiculous situation this team finds itself in right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very reasonable position. And I know a lot of people that feel that way. Okay, I run into them all the time, all over town, and I hear it all the time. And I don't try to talk them out of it. I just present the situation and say, hey, look, this is what I see. This is where they're at. And so I get that. I would say this, like, if, it's not my job to play devil's advocate, but I think, for the purpose of this conversation, let's do that, right? So if no matter who were in charge this year, I strongly believe that if the situation would have occurred with the injuries they had, no matter who was in charge, I think they would have met the same fate. I really believe that. And I don't know that there's anything that I would have necessarily done a lot differently. And we can quibble about the Sauce trade, but I mean, let's be honest, that thing worked out about as bad as possible in the short period of time since it's been made. And I don't think anyone would have foreseen that. You don't foresee him getting hurt. You don't foresee Daniel Jones getting hurt. They were going for it. And did they overpay? Yes, they damn it overpaid. Okay. But that was the point, was we're going to do what it takes because this is an opportunity we've not had. And that was true. But that opportunity fizzled with the injury. So I would say this about Chris Ballard too. Like, if you are dissatisfied with the past 8 years of Chris Ballard, well, who am I to say you're wrong, right? I mean, I've written all those articles about the missteps, okay? So you're preaching to the choir. I would say the funny thing about it, okay, the ironic thing about all of this is that this is finally the year, I would say, he did everything that people wanted him to do. And he's not going to have anything to show for it unless they pull a rabbit out of a hat here. And that's what's so weird about this. That's why this is just it's such a conundrum. If you just look at it in black and white, it's like, what they do wrong? I don't know that they did anything necessarily wrong that's a flashing red light. It's just they got terrible luck, and it's not worked out. I mean, Phillip Rivers is their quarterback. That's all you got to say, right?
Yeah, what's funny about this entire thing, it's almost like it's cruel and unusual punishment for the fan base because, you dangled such a position earlier this season, and let's just say if they come out of the gate and they stink it up as they've stunk it up in the past month plus, then you draw a conclusion easily. But now the water is all muddy because of the start, and then once you get off to that start, you compromise your position moving forward to where you really can't do anything. But I'm not talking organizationally or coaching-wise, but player personnel-wise, I mean, really, what can you do that you don't already have solidified within your organization, I guess, other than lose some dudes that may want to have more of a winning opportunity in the present than wait a couple of years? I mean, this is a bad situation for this team that has been used to, Stephen, really in the short-term rear view, a number of bad situations.
Yeah, I mean, I think no matter who's in charge next year, you got to think about a couple of things. Number one, who's the quarterback and what's the quarterback situation going to be? I mean, look, I will tell you right now, as we sit here today, there is 0.0% chance that they move off of Daniel Jones. I mean, they are laser focused on Daniel Jones getting healthy and being their quarterback. Now, are there some potential? Is there some potential short-sightedness there, as it relates to the injury? Maybe. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But their plan right now is, I don't want to say completely run it back, but more or less run it back. Right? If they bring back Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen, that is the plan: is to more or less run it back. Daniel Jones get healthy. I don't know what the bridge quarterback situation might be if they need one. I don't know what becomes of Anthony Richardson. Will he want out? Probably. Yep, I really believe that. So I'm not counting on him being here. So I think that is their plan. Now, the question is going to be, is that going to be good enough? You got one last hurrah with DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart. You got a healthy Sauce Gardner. If they get Daniel Jones back, re-sign Alec Pierce, like you have the makings of a good team there. I do think that is the makings of a very formidable team that could contend for the division. But I do also think this was a unique year where the Giant Slayers are not in your way this year. Joe Burrow's going to be sitting at home. Patrick Mahomes, he's going to be rehabbing all offseason, right? I mean, you got Josh Allen with one of the worst defenses I've ever seen. So this was a unique opportunity this year, and they will, unless they pull a rabbit out of a hat, they will not get a chance to take a run at that, and that's really deflating.
Yeah, no, it is, and we'll talk about without Steven a little bit later on the dynamics at work with an ultra must-win coming up later on tonight on Monday night. But I think in closing here, Steven, what's even more difficult to digest for everybody is you've seen everybody rinse and repeat, and win at a high level a couple of different times now, and this Colts team and this organization looks like what we used to make fun of the Bengals looking like back in the day. That's the problem.
Well, I think I won't say Bengals, but I think here's where they're similar is that the from the postseason perspective, there's probably some similarity there, and that's where you're right. And I think that's a frustrating thing. I mean, the goal is to contend for championships, and they've not been in that conversation for a long time. And honestly, as you already pointed out, I don't know how you get there in a short period of time. That's why I do think the odds are they run this back, because there's no quick fix to this. You play it out and you probably kick the can down the road, because otherwise you're probably in a rebuild, and I don't know that anyone's ready for that. So
you got 3 more games, including tonight, to talk about that with you as well. But I think you're probably going to have some veterans that wouldn't mind to find a little bit of greener pasture to try to close out as well. We'll see how that works coming up. But interesting, and I would tend to agree with what you had to say regarding the circumstances right now. But Monday night, for the first time since 2022, Niners and the Colts later on tonight. Stephen Holder of ESPN on ESPN.com on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Always a pleasure. I shall see you in the press box a little bit later on tonight. Thanks for joining.
All right, you got it, Cecil.
Stephen Holder of ESPN and ESPN.com, BullseyeEventGroup.com, and the Colts VIP Tailgate presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration. Doors are crack open a little bit later on. All you can eat, all you can drink. We're going to get this bad boy going. The party is here. Quick break, we'll come back. Hagan and Matt Taylor all still to come. This is a form of the ride to kick off, you'll hear on a Sunday morning, but in a normal slate, normal spot in the afternoon with me, with the Niners and Colts on Monday Night Football coming up later on tonight. Don't go anywhere. It's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. District Tap, you got 2 out of it. Clearwater Crossing, downtown Indianapolis, not too far from where I am right now. Damn good food, great happy hour specials, and all the games on all the TVs that they have. Essentially, what you get is an incredible amount of entertainment. You get entertainment for your dollar, damn good food, happy hour pricing, and all the entertainment that you're looking for. I mean, seriously, you're not going to miss a moment of anything. Clearwater Crossing, downtown Indy. Ask about the live music and obviously the holiday gatherings that they have as well. Check it out now, thedistricttap.com. Hey, John, for Andy Moore, Buick GMC, 131st, State Road 37. It's in Fishers. His name is Eric Wilson. I can direct you to a guy that's going to get the job done for you for that new set of wheels, whether it is coming up right now at the end of this year or firing off into 2026. You've got a great inventory, and you're always going to find these incredible incentives to buy, which I'm telling you, you can take advantage of that at discounts. And the service after the sale, you know how I feel about that. It is essential in the car buying experience now more than ever. And you're going to get that hassle-free and easy with my friend Eric Wilson and Andy Moore Buick GMC. Tell them I sent you, 131st State Road 37 in Fishers.
The Ride with JMV.
You are more reptile than man, George. So low and flat that the foot of man is incapable of crushing you. How dare you!
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, welcome back to Bullseye, eventgroup.com and the Colts VIP Tailgate, presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration. The preparations are ongoing right now. Hey, can't wait to see you here. I'll be bailing as you guys will be coming in. However, I will catch up with you, I'm sure, a little bit later on. Touchdown Town, that's where I'm going to go for the Colts pregame huddle. That starts at 5:30 coming up. We go 5:30 until 7:30, countdown to kickoff with Casey, Matt, Lara, and Rick after that. We got a lot for you. Not only leading up to the game, but also keep in mind, Pacers will be on here on the Fan, and I'm going to help you sort this out a little bit before we hit the top of the hour break. The Pacers will be on here once the Pacer pregame starts at 7 o'clock. So 93.5, 107.5, the Fan Pacer pregame at 7. Up until that point in time, we'll be in the triangle look, if you will, of radio signals, along with Country 97.1 Hank FM. But know this to be true. You can hear exclusively the Colts game action beginning at 7 o'clock on Country 97.1 Hank FM. So we'll be hanging with you during that point in time. And not only getting you set for the Monday night of the first one since 2022, but also dialing this bad boy in for you coming up later on tonight with Matt Taylor, who joins us coming up a little bit later on, and we'll discuss, a lot of the odds and ends of what this game does indicate. It's kind of interesting. Stephen Holder and I got off to a bit of a conversation about, all right, what's next? And I know we still have, counting tonight, 3 games to try to figure this out. And believe me, I think there's going to be a lot to figure out. But you talk about a rut, and this is where they're going to find themselves. And when he mentioned that 100% is the belief that Daniel Jones is going to be the quarterback here next year, once he recovers. And we'll see how expedited that recovery process is. But I tend to agree with him on that. I actually agreed that maybe Anthony Richardson will still be a part of it as well, but he thinks that they'll find some other spot for him. But, yeah, this is a lot of the personnel, unless you're a veteran and, you either are sent along your way or decide that you would like to go someplace else and maybe have more of what you would consider an opportunity to win in the now. I don't know how in the world dramatically you're going to change up the look of this team. And really, you look at Daniel Jones, before the injury, he was already fading a little bit, but such an incredible start that now has turned into the ultimate must-win later on tonight and then next week and then the week after that for this Colts team after a scintillating start. And then you get to what I think was the dictating terms of why we're going to see all this again for the most part is the NFL trade deadline. And what do we call it? The optionality of what you would have had that deal for Sauce Gardner not been made. And listen, I can't say anything because I was on board with it. And I'm not going to be a jackass like that and go, oh, I can't believe they did that. But let's just, in terms of things working out, it could not have worked out any worse the way this looks right now. Not any worse whatsoever. And that's why I mentioned a little bit earlier, too, that ultimately you're going to be soaking in this, and you're going to be soaking in this for a while. I also talked to Steven about you watch other teams, either your rivals within your own division or a team like New England that brings in Mike Vrabel, and immediately they're transformed. Saw their act last night on Sunday Night Football. You're watching all these other teams be at the top, then go back down, and then come back up, and then go back down, and then come back up. And mediocrity or less is still what the Colts have been over all of this time. And that, that's tough. Even with the circumstances of how I described it as soaking in it, that's tough for the fan base. That's tough for them to digest, and I completely understand that. It's funny. I go all the way back to January when I just had enough, right? I said, okay, let's just move on from everybody. And then I kind of looked like a horse's ass, if you remember, going back to the start of the year, because they start out, they're 7-1, and everything's looking great, and everybody's excited. Everybody's pointing the finger at me saying, you don't know anything. And now, as it turned out, to be better off had you done that. It'd have been better off had you not made that deal for Sauce Gardner. It'd have been better off if you had options, which simply put right now, unless something incredible happens, you don't have. Now, I will say this. You still have the opportunity to play and win 3 games remaining, but we've seen the act, and I don't know how anybody is believing that coming up later on tonight. And also, the whole Phillip Rivers thing has kind of faded. Last week, that was the story of the week, and he played well enough to put them in position to win, but his limitations also position them to lose. And you wonder that dynamic for a team, injuries or not, that have a week to look at that, like the 49ers do. All right, quick break. We'll come back. BullseyeEventGroup.com and the Colts VIP tailgate presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration. Be a part of this, because this is going to be a party. All you can eat, all you can drink, skids, lore, steel, and more. And the doors are going to open. BullseyeEventGroup.com and the Colts VIP tailgate. Hagan, Matt Taylor, a lot more. Some calls if you want to work it that way. Other than that, you can hit me up on the text line at 317-239-1070 or also at JMV 1070 on X. It is 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. The Ride to Kickoff. Back with you next. Hey, Wenschuler's spreadability, I found it again at the Meyer location in Greenwood over the weekend, too. They've got it for you. Like, I must say, if you're at home tonight and you want some really high-level snacking, Wenschuler's is the place. We're talking crackers, we're talking chips, or whatever you like to snack. The spreadability of Wenschuler's got you covered. Original sharp cheddar, bacon and cheddar, jalapeno, pepper. It is the spreadability of Wenschuler's. You can find it Gordon's Food Service, Neiman's Harvest Market in Carmel, or across the state of Indiana at your favorite Meyer location. Wenschuler's. Tell them JMV sent you.
The Ride with JMV.
We have the holy hand grenade. Yes, of course. The holy hand grenade of Antioch. Right. 1, 2, 5. Lisa, 3.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
So this is BullseyeEventGroup.com and the Colts VIP Tailgate presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration. Dev is engineering with me back here. James and Corbin. I think Corbin takes over for James coming up here as well. I'll continue this. We're going to go to the Colts pregame huddle coming up at 5:30, and then I'll further explain the dynamic on the stations and where you can catch this. And, of course, you got the Pacers in action at 7:30 tonight. That's the tip time. 7 o'clock your coverage is here on the Fan, and where you can catch the Pacers when they play in Boston coming up later on tonight. In fact, Butler closing out NJIT in an afternoon affair at Hinkle Fieldhouse. That's going on, and really a weekend of a lot of football. You had some incredible drama on Saturday with the Bears and the Packers at Soldier Field. You did not have a lot of drama in terms of Oregon and James Madison and Tulane and Ole Miss. And it was kind of weird. You were watching A&M, right? You were watching A&M in Miami, and you kind of wondered why either team really needed to be there because they were so bad. And then you had a bit of a thrill down the stretch, but you had two place kickers that couldn't do a damn thing. And then on Friday night, IU fans found out that it will be Alabama in the Rose Bowl on New Year's Day coming up in the college football playoff, which is awesome for IU fans. But that started out very odd, too, because it was all Oklahoma out to a 17-0 advantage, and everybody was writing off Kalen DeBoer and Alabama, and they came, I guess you would call, I don't know if I'd call that storming back or not. I didn't think either team you looked at it would be that impressive. Part of me, when you look at the Rose Bowl or when you look at these teams like IU that are waiting, you're not going to play for the better part of a month. And I still say you give an advantage to another team because they already, even if they played bad in the first half, but they've already had a game and positive results under their belt. At least that's kind of how I view it. I don't know if it'll turn out that way, but that certainly is the view right there. Last check, I think IU, 6.5, 7-point favorites, which is really weird. That is the world in which we live right now, with IU being that much of a favorite. Coming up in the Rose Bowl against Alabama, but I didn't really take anything away from Alabama being very good. I thought Oklahoma just faded at home. If you're a Sooner fan, that had to be incredibly depressing. Not as depressing as it was to sit back and watch Oregon and JMU and Tulane and Ole Miss. Then at least you got that NFC matchup at Soldier Field in Chicago. I used to be, going back a number of years, a Bears fan. I mean, going way back, big-time Bears fan. And then, once you get started in this, I stopped being the kind of the fanboy thing, or really well before this, with the Bears. But in terms of, you see what you have at Lucas Oil Stadium with the Colts, and a team like the Bears that have been, searching for solid footing. I will say this, with head coach and quarterback, it looks like that they finally, after just years and years of searching, they found that dynamic. It looks like they found that. And the Colts seemingly are, still in the process of trying to locate anything, anywhere. I will say this, as negative as this weekend was for Colts fans, it's funny because I did see there was an X message that was making its rounds yesterday, and was making its rounds, regarding the lack of help that the Colts are getting. And I understood, the emphasis was, watching all these other games, and the Texans continue to win, the Jaguars continue to win, the Chargers are winning. And, I guess you got, presumably help with the Ravens. But, I mean, the Patriots, continue to win. They're in the postseason picture. The Broncos are there, but Jacksonville got them in Denver yesterday. The Steelers continue to win. But the problem that you have in trying to really digest that dynamic is that the major focus is the Colts continue to lose. And really continue to manufacture their own ways to lose. And you thought you go as far as you can until you are beaten by 6 field goals against a good team in the good team stadium in Seattle last week, but still beaten by 6 field goals. So you find a way to really make it hurt even more. And that's the way that it was last week. And while there was that great story with Phillip Rivers, 44-year-old out of retirement, and I think it depends on what side you're on. Either you thought it was a great story. I mentioned this. I was on in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada a little bit earlier today. And I was asked the question about what's everybody feel about Phillip Rivers. And I thought that as Indy and Colts fans were around here last week and still going into tonight's Monday Nighter with Rivers getting the start, I thought that you guys were between being incredibly nostalgic and excited because all of a sudden there was a story that was all stories around the NFL. You were very nostalgic, but you were caught between being nostalgic and incredibly embarrassed because this is where you have to go. Now, you have to go to a dude that was here and spent 1 year here and played well here, but didn't want a second year, which probably would have changed everything had he wanted a second year, but he didn't. So you look at that as, all right, it was a great story. I'm very nostalgic. I like Phillip Rivers a great deal. leads the team, gets everybody going, knows what he's doing, but you're also embarrassed because that's the path that your team has to take. And you look at that dynamic, and that really equates to the field because he does the same thing on the field to help you win or to help you be positioned to win. But then he also, the other part of it is you take away because he is limited. He has a level of limitations that you just can't get over and you can't get around. You have to be able to get the football down the field. You know, you look at it this way, too. You know, we talk about the bookends. You're not going to get a Bernard Ryman later on tonight. Luke Tenuta, I thought, on Sunday in Seattle played really well coming in for Ryman with that elbow injury. So I thought both bookends and Jalen Travis, the rookie from Iowa State at right tackle, I thought he played really well, too. But to help them out, you know that Phillip Rivers is probably going to take him about 2 seconds to get rid of the ball. I mean, it's snapped and it's going to be gone. So I'm not so much worried, you know, about the sack total, especially with a team like Frisco that does not do that very well. But what you're worried about is everybody defensively is so far pressed up. That puts even more pressure on an offensive line to open up holes and to try to get started what you think your only edge can be, and that's Jonathan Taylor. And it wasn't that last week. 87 yards rushing, but it was 3.5 yards per clip. And that's just not going to get it done. And you mentioned this. Jonathan Taylor has been on an offensive output slide in the past month. But Seattle, while, you know, they weren't taking the football away and, you know, weren't that over-the-top incredible defense, you know, you did what was necessary the way that you play against Phillip Rivers. And part of that equation is later on tonight is for the Colts to try to find out how you can get past that and what you can do with that. Because you're going to have a team that watched the Seattle game on tape, and even without that type of pressure this season, or even with a compromised defense with some injuries, you're still going to have a better feel than certainly Seattle did about a guy that hadn't played in 5 years. So it would seem to be essential to be able to get the ball down the field. And you might ask the question, how do you end up getting the ball down the field? You know, and I had said this all along. If I were Shane Steichen, and everybody's probably glad that's not the case, but if I were Shane Steichen, you've got to find a way to take a couple of shots. And, you know, who is the defining guy through the air on your football team? That has certainly been Alec Pierce. So maybe get him out there and throw a couple up for him to go get. I thought it was reasonable to understand how conservative the Colts were going to be with Phillip Rivers at quarterback last week. I just don't think you're going to have that luxury of being that conservative this week, even if it doesn't work. Because you're going to have a team that I would expect is going to be major league focused because of the playoff positioning in the NFC and still going for the 1 seed. But you're also going to have a team that has a week's worth of, and I know you can look, you say, well, you know, you have more than a week. I mean, the guy played for how many years in the NFL, but he had a 5-year layoff. And everybody kind of wondered what you're going to see. And now there are going to be 0 surprises. So what you have to do if you're the Colts is be able to do what you should be able to do. And that is run the football, and that is find your tight end. 2 things that have absolutely faded away in the last month or so. Win Schuler's spreadability, by the way, never fades away. Original sharp cheddar bacon and cheddar jalapeno pepper. The spreadability of Win Schuler's. You can find it, Neiman's Harvest Market in Carmel, which is, by the way, a great place to go in Carmel to get what you need there. And the Win Schuler spreadability in all varieties right there as well. Gordon's Food Service and your Meyer locations. That is Win Schuler's spreadability. But to double back what I was talking about, too, regarding the Colts and what we have witnessed, when I was on with Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, a little bit earlier, they kind of asked when this slide had started. And I think you probably take the position of this team, being in the situation they are right now, you either start it like I do in the Pittsburgh game with Daniel Jones still healthy, but two guys in Highsmith and Watt that really kind of started all this. And again, it's been different ways and means. So you either look at it as the curtain being pulled back in the Steeler game well over a month ago, or maybe you look at it, maybe your viewpoint is Kansas City. Not being able to close out Kansas City, who now you see their situation the way that it is right now out of the postseason, and then fading and losing big time in Tennessee yesterday, but not being able to close out a desperate Kansas City team with a double-figure lead going in to the fourth. And what you saw there was a little bit more of getting after the quarterback, and Steve Spagnuolo started to get after the quarterback at that point in time. And you could probably look at those two benchmarks, either Pittsburgh or the fourth quarter of Kansas City as being, maybe the reason why you are where you are with this team right now. And what's interesting, how you feel about this team right now is as either negative or as cloudy as how you're going to feel about this team coming up in the offseason. Because you don't have a lot of answers right now. And simply put, unless you just want to make it a clean sweep and get everybody out, you're probably looking at the same thing next year, or at least close to the same thing next year. And that is something that a lot of people are tired of. And especially that is magnified when you go through a season. As I mentioned to Stephen Holder a little bit earlier, this has been a season in which the carrot of positivity and high level of results was dangled. So then you get that level of expectation, and then you follow it up with a common theme for this organization over the years, and that is just a tremendous fade that you find where you are right now. I know it is tough not to massively get depressed by it. But let's just say this, you still have an opportunity, if you can, to give yourself some results in that building across Capitol, where I am right now, coming up later on tonight. For the first time on Monday Night Football since 2022, that is the Colts and the Niners coming up later on tonight. Somebody asked me a little bit earlier what I felt about, the buzz surrounding this game. And I will say this, for me, there's been a lot of interest, but you got to understand where I hang out. I'm going to the bars, and it's a party, and, everybody that I'm around just wants the party aspect of it. But there is also a cloud of what the hell has happened and what are you going to do about it that hangs over that building over there right now. So there's a mixture of that. Without question. It's weird. I just explained how there are so many mixtures of things going on right now, and really it just all equates to the negative. And there's no real way out of that unless the team finds a way to get themselves out of it. Coming up later on tonight. Lucas Oil Stadium from Monday Night Football. That is the Niners and the Colts. As I mentioned, a couple of teams have clinched in the AFC playoff picture, a number of teams in the NFC, and the Niners are still playing for the 1 seed in the NFC. So, yeah, they're going to go hard at it anyway. But exceptionally hard coming up later on tonight. Make it certainly more difficult for the Colts in that matchup coming up later on this evening, too. Win-Schuler Spreadability, high-level snacking for you on Monday night. Just what you should order in all great varieties of Win-Schulers. You can find that at your favorite Meijer location throughout the state of Indiana. today. All right, a couple more things. I know we got a couple more minutes before we get to a break, and then I'm going to, in a little bit, head to Touchdown Town. I'm going to entertain you with the dynamic of what we're doing here today. So I'm at the bullseyeeventgroup.com Colts VIP tailgate where the line is now forming out front. So the doors open here. I think Morgan told me around 5:15 or so, 5:15 or 5:30. I want to say 5:15. But if you're on your way and you're looking for a spot, I can just simply tell you this is it. Because what normally is indoor-outdoor, they have a lot of outdoor space, but Kyle Kinnett put together an idea of covering up the outdoor space. So there is a bar and an entertainment area outside that is heated. And it is great. So it gives you more room to maneuver in a place that is going to be, the site to be. And if you don't have your passes right now, for example, if you didn't win on this show over the course of the last 2 weeks, you can log on to bullseyeeventgroup.com and the Colts VIP tailgate presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration. And you can do that as well. Kyle also sent me this. If you're thinking about going to the Rose Bowl, I know the Bullseye also has tickets to the Rose Bowl. You can log on and see if you can make it out to Southern California. I know that they have direct flights going out there. There's not going to be a party out in Southern California. There may, let's just say, for example, if a certain team here moves on, there is going to be a party in Atlanta, from what I hear. There would be a party in Atlanta, from what I hear. But as of right now, nothing going on in Southern California, but they do have direct flights out there for that game, around that game. And if you want tickets to the Rose Bowl, Bullseye has them for you. BullseyeEventGroup.com, which is absolutely outstanding. I know a lot of you are going out there. A lot of my friends are going out there, so that should be absolutely fantastic for you with BullseyeEventGroup.com. But no, if you want to go ahead and get your passes on the way in, you can certainly do that at BullseyeEventGroup.com. I also should mention, too, so Colts pregame huddle starts right here. I'm going to talk to Chris Hagan a little bit later on of Fox 59, and then Matt Taylor, the voice of the Colts. 5:30, me, Casey Valier, Bill Brooks, and Joe Wrights will take over. We're going to be in Touchdown Town, which is just a little bit north of Lucas Oil Stadium. So 5:30, we start that. 5:30 until 7:30, that is the Colts pregame huddle. And then countdown to kickoff with Casey and Matt and Rick Venturi and Lara Overton. That happens for you coming up tonight at 7:30. That will lead you up to Monday Night Football and the caps on what has been a very interesting week in the NFL that started on a Thursday with an incredible Seahawks-Rams matchup, and will end on a Monday night here in Indy with the Niners and the Colts. But I know that there are some people that know that the Pacers are on the road in Boston, so that pregame show starts at 7. So those of you right here on 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan, be advised that this will have Pacer pregame and the Pacer game in Boston, and then Eddie White with Pacers postgame after that. So that's 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan. So at 7 o'clock, Colts coverage with us goes exclusive to 97.1 Hank FM. So up until that point in time, you have 3 different stations to listen to the Colts pregame coverage and the Colts pregame huddle, which starts again coming up at 5:30. So hopefully that has reasonably explained everything to you regarding that too. And obviously we have a bit of an odd week because of Christmas. We want everybody to enjoy that. Christmas Eve and Christmas Day off. We'll be back coming up on Friday, and then next week as well with New Year's. And once I learn the system, once Dev across the table from me teaches me how to do this new Zeta thing, which I have no idea what to do, once I figure out how to do it, we'll bring back season number 6 of the JMV Takeover on B105.7 on New Year's Eve. Once I learn it, it was a bit daunting yesterday, so I go in. It's weird, right? On a Sunday, I go in and I do a little bit of work, and I log on, and it looked so incredible, overwhelming. I thought, you know what? I'm going to wait on this. But hopefully we shall be ready for New Year's Eve for you guys. be ready, willing, and able to give you the JMV takeover then and there. So we got that for you coming up as well. Just a really – it's a busy week for everybody, but certainly for us as well, even though we're not always going to be, as we normally are, on the air and taking some of those days off for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and then off New Year's Day as well. But we'll still be hanging with you, and hopefully there is even more reason to keep a level of interest in the last 2 weeks with your division rivals if you're a Colts fan. And a lot of that is going to be determined on what happens in that building coming up later on tonight with the Niners and the Colts. Again, Pacers, Boston coming up later on tonight. And we'll slide into Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And certainly get you set for 2026 and what should be. I try not to think about that because you got the Pacers going in the direction in which they're going. And you get another must-win situation for the Colts against the Niners on Monday Night Football. You try not to think about, what may take place coming up in 2026 with these two squads right here as much. You want to think a little bit more in the now. And we shall see how that goes for you coming up. Again, bullseyeeventgroup.com and the Colts VIP tailgate presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration. Niners, Colts, by the way, the interesting tidbit today, DeForest Buckner is back. Now, we'll see how he does come back from that serious neck injury situation that had him going to Panama for stem cell treatment during the bye week. If you can remember, that was actually the bye week after their last win in Berlin against the Falcons, and for the first time in a while, you're going to see DeForest Buckner. You can also, I think, put together the fact that when DeForest Buckner went down and was injured, then things really started to fade as well. But DeForest Buckner back coming up later on tonight, and we'll see how much he does end up playing. But certainly it is good to see him back. Coming up on Monday Night Football against his old team, the San Francisco 49ers. All right, guys, we got a lot more to come for you, too. In just a bit, the voice of the Colts, Matt Taylor, is going to join us, and we'll have some interesting tidbits about this matchup. A little Monday Night Football focus there. And Chris Hagan of Fox 59 is coming up on the other side. Chris has got a pregame for you. Chris has got information for you, and Chris is going to join us, and we'll talk about a lot of things, including the sports weekend that I just described to you with Chris Hagan of Fox 59. That is coming up on the other side. I'm going to thank you guys again. BullseyeEventGroup.com and the Colts VIP tailgate. If you don't have your passes, make sure you do. Log on with BullseyeEventGroup.com and the Colts VIP tailgate. 5:15, things get underway here. On the other side, Chris Hagan joins us. This is 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.